What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing the latest campaign expansion for Marvel Champions, the card game. This is the Sinister Motives expansion, designed by Michael Boggs, with some additional development by Caleb Grace and MJ Newman. Then I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who will tell you more about the game itself.
So this is an expansion, so it's still a co-op game, and it's for 1 to 4 players, and plays about 1 to 2 hours, though our plays so far have taken us around the 1 hour mark.
Yeah, 1 hour, 90 minutes max. That seems to be the sweet spot for Marvel Champions at 2 players. One of the reasons why it's highly recommended at the 2 and 3 player count on Board Game Geek. Now, just to tell you a little bit about the Sinister Motives expansion, you are pulling from the the Rogue Gallery of Spider-Man, as well as from the Spider-Verse. So you're going to see some cool different versions of Spider-Man in terms of allies. You get to take on the role of Miles Morales, the other Spider-Man or new Spider-Man, depends on what fan you are of Marvel 616, the Ultimate Universe. In the Ultimate Universe, he was the new Spider-Man, then he got pulled into 616. It's comic books, it's complicated. You also have Ghost Spider, who is Gwen Stacy, and in her universe, it was her who got bitten by the spider, and Peter Parker takes on the role of Uncle Ben. So we'll leave it at that. You should definitely learn more about the characters. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Julie, not nearly as much. So as you can see, you got all the backstory. In any case, what are you doing in this game? Well, you are a hero or public enemy number 1, depending on who you're talking to. So if you're playing in campaign mode, there are going to be a couple extra cards that are going to come into play to make the game more difficult. Provided that you are able to defeat those schemes and meet certain conditions, your reputation is going to go up with the city. You're going to get some nice benefits, and you're going to be facing off against a whole slew of villains from the Rogues Gallery. Finally, Venom's going to be in there as well. You'll be taking on some symbiotes. I won't have too many spoilers, although if you open your pack or you stay for the components, look, you'll get an idea. But you're going to eventually be facing off against Spider-Man's greatest foe, at least in my opinion, Norman Osborn. Although more Peter Parker's, but hey, it works with these two as well, and we're getting them into the game. You can always just pull Peter out of the core box.
Okay.
All right, I think I've talked enough about this expansion. We're now going to grab our drink, grab our fellow web warrior.
I'm going to take it to the table one last time in this campaign.
One last time. Let's finish off the campaign. Now I'm going to take a look at the components for the Sinister Motives campaign expansion for Marvel Champions, the card game. Now this is going to be an in-depth look at the heroes and the villains. We'll go through an overview of some of the other stuff that's going to be coming with the campaign. Now there will be some spoilers. If you're opening up the card packs, you're going to see them. But if you haven't bought this expansion yet, I have hidden one of the villains just so that you don't lose the surprise. Now, if that's something that's going to bother you, I'm going to do my best to let you know when we're going to show it. It's under this stack right here, so just in case I forget, if you do see me lifting the symbiotic strength deck, well, then you know that we're going to be showcasing the last villain. So here we've got the new expansion rulebook. Got the credits on the back, also the campaign guide and the new reputation track, which is new for the campaign. Here in the front, you have just the instructions for the villain cards, the featured keywords, the amplify icons, and then the campaign mode rules, any prohibited cards, and campaign specific cards. We also get the rules as to how to use the new reputation track. So there you go. That's what you get. And then just like the other campaigns, you get some nice comic book art, and it's going to take you through the story. So we'll move that off camera right now. So we will take a look at our 2 heroes first. We will start with Spider-Man Miles Morales. His special ability is Venom Blast. Deal 2 damage to an enemy, and then you get to stun them. Spider Camouflage. You get to give Spider-Man a tough status card and confuse an enemy. That's pretty cool. His alter ego form response: after you change to this form, you may shuffle 1 Spider-Man card from your discard pile back into your deck. So, Arachnobatics, which is an attack that deals 2 damage to an enemy. If that enemy has a stun status card, you get to deal additional damage. Same thing if they have a confuse. Change your form. if you paid for this card using a punch resource, ready your identity, so that's pretty cool. Swinging in, which is a thwart, you get to remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you pay for this card with a science resource, you get to use your special ability, so that's pretty cool. Web shot is a 4 damage card. Sorry, attack, and if you paid for this card using a energy resource, you get to use the Venom blast. Genki Lee, so draw 1 card, and if you are in hero form, choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Jefferson Davis, your alter ego action, you get to exhaust him to remove 1 threat from at least 1 scheme. So here we've got some upgrades. After your hero uses a basic power, discard power within to resolve the Venom blast ability. Here you've got one after your hero uses a basic power, discard defense mechanism to use a camouflage. Web shooters, so you can generate some extra resources with these. Monica Chang, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., is going to help you out. Spider-Woman as an ally. So it's kind of cool that she's matching Spider. Yeah, it is still Jessica Drew that she's matching Miles Morales in costume. Exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control and choose a scheme to remove 2 threat from them. So really adjust this deck, the new global logistics. I think we've seen enough on Spider-Man. I don't want to make this too detailed. Agent 13, Dum Dum Dugan. As an ally, we get Ghost Spider. You're supposed to take her out if you're playing with Ghost Spider as an ally. You also get Peter Parker, the Young Love event, and then some other pretty cool stuff. And then lastly we get our nemesis, who is going to be the Prowler. Now, if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse or know the story of Miles Morales, you know why that character is his nemesis. All right, so moving on from that, we're going to take a look at Ghost Spider. So dizzying reflex is response after you resolve an interrupt or responsibility on an event. Ready Ghost Spider, very cool. She's got a kick, so after Ghost Spider uses a basic power, deal 6 damage to an enemy. That's just dealing 6 damage, it's really powerful. Parental guidance. If George Stacy is in play, attach 1 event from your hand or discard pile face down to George Stacy. If he's not in play, search your deck and discard pile for him and add him to your hand. Phantom Flip, which is the thwart. After Ghost Spider uses a basic power, remove 5 threat from a scheme. Very cool. Pirouette Punch, which is an interrupt. So when a card is revealed from the encounter deck, deal damage to the villain equal to 1 or more than the number of boost cards on that card's revealed, and then you get to cancel its revealed effect. That's awesome. So requirement science resource, and this is an interrupt when an enemy would activate. Cancel that activation. If a minion's activation was canceled this way, deal 4 damage to the minion. Web binding, there's George Stacy. So events attached to George Stacy may be played as if they're in your hand. Exhaust him to attach 1 event from your hand face down here to a maximum of 3. So he just helps give you a couple more cards. So take it to the multiverse. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck and drop to your hand size. And then ready each Ghost Spider card you control. Web Bracelet. After resolve an interrupt or responsibility to an event, exhaust Web Bracelets to draw a card. I like that. You get Silk as an ally, Spider-Man Miles Morales as an ally, Spider UK, Bait and Switch, which will let you do some thwarting. Very cool. Jump Flip, which is a defense when you take any amount of damage, prevent 2 of that damage. And you can remove 2 threat if you use an energy resource. So pretty cool stuff here. What doesn't kill me, very thematic. Spider-Man card. Then you've got another version of Spider-Man that is Hobby Brown, don't know him, Across the Spider-Verse, Young Love, then some of the other standard cards, Web of Life and Destiny, Plan B. Lastly, Worried Father, and we have the Lizard as the nemesis. And if you know Ghost Spider's story, that makes total sense. All right, well, just taking a look at the camera, thought we had a little more juice. We're running out of power, so we're going to take a quick break here. Also, is a nice cut point, so we'll be coming right back at you with our look at the villains. All right, so let's take a look at the villains. So we have Sandman with his Sandblast, a force interrupt. When Sandman attacks you, that attack deals indirect damage. If your identity takes any amount of damage from that attack, resolve the Surging Sands ability on the city streets. That's a card you'll have to put in play. We've got his scheme right there. So this is the environment. So Surging Sands, you place 1 sand counter here. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck equal to the number of sand counters here. And then the hero action, you may exhaust a character you control to remove sand counters from here equal to that character's attack. So that's going to have something to do with just what's going on. Sand form. And then that means in terms of the scheme, how you have to defeat that. So a forced interrupt, when you would deal any amount of damage to Sandman, discard Sandman form instead. Sand clone, so these are minions. So when you defeat it, you got to resolve the surging sand effects. A few more different schemes. Treachery cards, when revealed, place 2 sand counters on city streets and resolve its effect. It's pretty nasty. We've got a sandstorm. Deal X indirect damage among players, where X is equal to the number of sand counters on city streets. If there are no sand counters on city streets, you get to place 3 sand counters there instead. Sand smash, when revealed, resolve the surging sand's ability as alter ego, and then +1 attack if you are in your hero form. So here we then have Venom, symbiote, so toughness. So he starts with a tough status card, force response. After you attack and damage Venom with a card you control, place 1 face down boost card on your identity. That's not very fun. You have a scheme, bell tower, to release 3 chime counters. Here, flip the card. When any amount of damage would be dealt to Venom by an attack, you may place that many chime counters here instead. So if you flip it over, you increase all damage Venom takes by 1. If there are no chime counters here, you have to flip the card. When Venom's attack would deal any amount of damage to an identity, remove that many chime counters to prevent 1 of that damage. So pretty cool. Now we're angry. Gets rage toners. Venom attacks game's overkill. After Venom takes any amount of damage, you remove one rage counter, but he gets +1 attack. A couple different schemes. Treachery, when revealed, Venom activates against you. Each boost card turned face up. That activation gets +1 boost icon. That's nasty. And then for whom the bell tolls, remove 2 chime counters from the bell tower. Tower's on its quiet side. Take 1 damage. If it's on its running side, remove 1 thread from the main scheme. Boost resolve the cards when revealed effect. So that is definitely a little obnoxious. Now, as you can see, the villain decks are a little slim. We're getting ideas to how they're going to play. The key is going to be in these giant stacks of cards and things that you mix in, such as the symbiote stuff. But like I said, we're not going to go through that in detail. Otherwise, we'd be here for quite a while. So Mysterio, Seeds of Fear, force response. After you resolve a boost card during Mysterio's activation, place that card in your discard pile. It has the illusion trait. His schemes. So attach to Mysterio, spend 1 resource of any type to shuffle the top 2 cards of the encounter deck into your deck, and you get to discard this card, but that's +3 attack, so you really want to get rid of that. +1 scheme. When you would deal any amount of damage to Mysterio, discard the top 4 cards of your deck instead and discard the card. So some illusion apparitions. When defeated, if the minion was defeated with excess damage, the defeating player shuffles the top card of the encounter deck into their deck. So just making you draw all sorts of nasty stuff and illusions. Deja vu, choose to either take 1 damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme, then shuffle it into any player's deck. And it's a peril card, so when you're resolving this card, other players cannot help you, so that's never fun. And then Fearmonger Surge, when revealed, discard your hand, drop to your new hand size, and the boost is you choose either spend 2 science resources or deal this card face down, or deal this card to yourself and a face down encounter card. Well, not quite sure how we're going to fare against Mysterio. He definitely seems to be a challenging opponent. So here we have the Sinister Six, which I'm imagining plays a little bit like the Wrecking Crew. We've got Doc Ock, Electro, Hobgoblin, Kraven the Hunter, Scorpion, and Vulture. So you got to take down all these different characters. Now, they don't have too many hit points, but still you have to face them all. So Sinister Beatdown, different schemes. So heightened morale, so these attach the villain with the highest activation order value, increases damage. Training presence. I don't want to go through all this stuff because it's going to really depend on who's the leader, what's going on. But as you can see, everything just kind of works for all of them, like frequent flyers, high fashion. So some pretty cool stuff here. It'll be interesting to see what happens when you face off against a Sinister Six. As that's just going to take a while, I'm not going to go through all of it. You're getting ideas to how things are going, but I don't want to take a look at 6 villains. So we're going to move on to the end here. I'm going to reveal the last villain. So spoilers. We have Venom Goblin, who is steady, infests the city. After Venom Goblin activates against you, move the glider counter to the main scheme with the least threat. Choose either place 2 threat on that scheme or resolve its special ability. Then we get a couple different scheme cards. we are 1 attached to Venom Goblin. +3 scheme, +3 attack. Takes 3 resources to get rid of it. Symbiotic Berserker, so 0 scheme but 3 attack. While symbiote environment is in play, the symbiotic Berserker gains quick strike. That's not fun. Move the glider counter to the main scheme with the most threat and place 1 threat on that scheme. Symbiotic Monstrosities. Retaliate 1 steady toughness. Against +3 hit points while symbiote environment is in play, and if this activation is attack, it deals indirect damage. You got symbiotic thralls. So there's a lot of symbiotes going on and just causing a lot of chaos, spreading panic, surge. When revealed, resolve the special ability of the scheme on the glider counter, and the boost is resolve it as well. So that's fairly nasty. So that's Venom Goblin. Definitely seems like we got a fair bit of difficulty here. Now these are all the other decks that you're going to be mixing in. So, for example, Symbiotic Strength. Let's take a look at what the decks are. Sinister Assault. So, a bunch of different minions. You got Whispers of Paranoia. Nasty stuff involving Mysterio. We've got Personal Nightmare. Evil Doppelganger cards. Things like that that'll show up. So that, we've got Osborne Tech. So, stuff that all of the villains like to use. Probably more for the Sinister Six, City in Chaos, which probably have something to do with Venom Goblin there. Common Criminal in the Down to Earth set. And then we've got Goblin Gear, so that's definitely for Venom Goblin. Probably Osborne Tech as well. And then last we've got Guerrilla Tactics. So we're getting all of these new sets to add into the game. Now we have the campaign cards. So here we have just the new shield tech you can get. Compact Darts. Impact Happening Suit. Laser Goggles, so set up permanent. Here gets -1 threat, threat reduction, but +1 attack. So all this stuff is permanent upgrade. So hero responsive to hero attacks, remove 1 dart to deal 1 damage to an enemy. Spend 1 resource of any type to place 3 darts. So that's pretty cool. Retinal display. We're not going to go through all of it, but all of these are upgrades you can get. Oh, see, we got Venom. Even the symbiote suit that we can get to make us even stronger. So we've got a few of these campaign environments that we're going to put into play, such as bad publicity. Here we've got community service. And then snitches get stitches. I'm not sure how those are going to come into effect, but there you go. We've now done it. We've taken a look at all the components for Sinister Motives, and you got to see some of the stuff in detail. Now keep it right here as Julie and I will be coming back at you with a review of the expansion. So Julie, we're back. We're playing Marvel Champions. We're trying to catch up. It's going to take us a little while. We are playing the Sinister Motives expansion, the campaign expansion for the game. What did you think of it? I think this is going to be really interesting, folks.
Well, we obviously there's 5 campaigns in this, so we had a chat.
5 missions.
Okay. We had an opportunity to play with both characters a fair bit.
Yeah, we also upgraded them. This is the end of our campaign where we luckily managed to pull off a victory. I have a lot to say about what I feel about the just sort of the scaling of the game, but I'll let Julie go first.
Well, so I'm going to talk about the heroes first. I enjoyed playing with Ghost Spider more than with Miles. And I have to say, this is with the pre-built decks, right? So we didn't change them in any way. We took them as their pre-built. I wasn't sure. I mean, when you handed her to me the first time, I'm like, okay, whatever.
She's not a big Spider-Man fan.
No, but and I know very little about this character. That being said, she has a couple of really cool cards that made me feel like she was quite effective quite a few times. I think there's only one game where the cards didn't line up quite as I wanted them to, and while I was playing her, and you seemed to be kicking butt with Miles. But I think most of the time, whoever was playing with her tended to be the one that was really having the most impact on the game. At least that's my thought.
I have to agree with you. I think Ghost Spider, at least in terms of her core deck, is probably the best design of both of the heroes. Now, hero design wise, I do think that there was a lot of great potential with Miles Morales. As Julie said, there was the game that I was playing where he was just like kicking butt because I kept having the ability to trigger his spider camouflage ability and the Venom blast. So stunning people, getting the tough status card. So I was like, stun them, okay, they can hit me, get rid of this, and just do lots of cool stuff. Ghost Spider, on the other hand, just had a lot more overall utility with her deck. And I think that I would actually like to see her in a different build, not necessarily protection, although the protection build did work out very well for her, as well with some of the cool abilities that let you, defend and then ready your hero, which I thought was definitely awesome. So one of the few characters that can use protection, I'd say at a very high level, without negating your offensive abilities as well. And I just really like the way that she worked, especially the fact that you could draw some cards from her web bracelets and that all her cards were reaction and responses to her base attack. Also using that upgrade that you got to potentially stun characters and eventually give you an extra attack was just huge. I really think she's definitely the standout character from the core build. That being said, I really also like Miles Morales. I think the hero's really cool. I like his hero cards. I like his abilities. I'm not so sure about this whole shield deck that they've got going on for him. With regards to it being a Justice deck, I think that makes sense. The original Spider-Man is Justice. He's picking up the mantle. He's supposed to be able to do a lot of threat reduction, and he does that very well. I really like Agent 13 as a card, especially what she can do with some of these shield cards, being able to refresh them. But it didn't always go his way. It didn't go.
I know one time for me, it felt really, really lackluster, and it just felt like nothing was lining up. The other time that I played him, I can say that what was the ability? It's the Venom?
Venom Blast and then the Spider
Venom Blast and the camouflage worked out really well for me one game. It was just like one after the other, it seemed to be going. So that one was fun. So when he's working, he works well. When he's not working, I feel like it's really not much fun. That being said,
I definitely would say you're going to want to tweak your decks. Like, the precons are okay. It's very playable. And I know we're going to start talking about the enemies. When you get to the end, and a little bit of a spoiler here, I'm sure you've seen it if you already opened up the cards, Venom Goblin, the game feels like it changes a whole lot.
Well, I was going to say, I think the first mission, maybe it's because we're getting to know the characters, seem decently difficult. And then I feel like we got like maybe two villains that were pretty easy. I mean, there's one that we finished in less than half an hour.
I think we made a mistake with that one, and because we'd set it up a little bit later on in the evening, and we hadn't actually included the Venom ally. So we did play the game as if it was not campaign. So we definitely a little bit stronger. That being said, we kind of still tore through it. I don't think getting a couple extra encounter cards would have slowed us down all that much. It might have taken that half-hour game to about 45 minutes. And
yeah, except that this last villain, ouch! I would have liked to have another character other than the ones we had.
I think I would have just liked to have a little bit of a different build other than the ones that we had. I think that Ghost Spider would have been a little bit more effective if you've gotten some of her jump flips like a little earlier on when she was, taking the damage. So a little bit better cards, I think she would have been okay. That being said, if you can't quite see in front of me, like I've got all these shield cards. I was not getting the cards to do like Venom Blast and Spider Camouflage. Also, Venom Goblin has the steady trait, so you need to stun him twice or confuse him twice in order to be able to pull off the actual effects of him being stunned or confused. And we just never had any time for Miles' abilities to trigger to do some damage, like that Arachnobatics ability that if you can get the stun and camouflage, which you should be able to do with Ghost Spider having the ability to stun as well, even with steady, to do some hard damage, some big hits, we should have been able to just play it a little easier. Also, Venom Goblin has a lot of management, and personally I have to say I don't mind managing a lot of things. It's a little bit more than what I like to do in Marvel Champions. It's this token, this token, this token, this token, and it really bogged down the gameplay. And I really like the rest of the campaign because it was all quick, fast, snappy, easy to play. games with complexity as well in terms of what the villains are doing, what you're gonna have to respond to. But I don't like when I'm like, oh, use this token, move this here, trigger this effect. Oh, this is gonna make this happen, trigger this effect next time. And I just felt like it made the game longer, and also the difficulty moved up. There's 3 different schemes that you're trying to manage. So I really felt that Miles was not performing the way I would have liked him to. And I would have really liked to have tweaked his deck in some way, shape, or form.
I don't have anything else to say about them, honestly.
No, I think we've got a very solid expansion. I know people are raving about it. I think if you're craving a little bit more difficult Marvel Champions experience than, let's say, a Mad Titan Shadow, I think this one might be for you, especially with Venom Goblin. That being said, I do think it's not necessarily more difficult as well. I don't know. I think the balance is a little all over the place in terms of this, but nothing is overly challenging. I did quite enjoy the Sinister Six, but we got a nice flow there. That was the game where Miles was just running on all cylinders and you were running pretty well, and we kind of just blew through them. So maybe you want to take a look at this at Expert if you're looking for a big challenge. But Venom Goblin does feel like one of the more challenging villains and a nice step up at the end of the game for a big boss. Just as we mentioned, not a big fan of these pre-constructed decks, and I'm sure there's some really cool ways that you can take these characters. But I think that that's probably going to affect my score, because I know this is probably some people's favorite expansion box, and I have to say it's not mine.
No, it's not mine either. But I think we knew that for me, given the
Spider-Man,
the Spider-Man theme. Spider-Man's not my favorite. Although the little guy would be quite disappointed to hear me say that, because he quite likes Spider-Man more than, what does he call him? Soupy Man?
Yes.
Okay, so are you ready to give a score?
Yes, I'm ready to give this a score.
So you go ahead.
I'm going to give this a 7. I thought I might be able to go higher to like a 7.5 or an 8. I think the characters are good. I like all the content that we're getting here. But I kind of just felt disappointed in some of the way that the game was playing. Some of my plays with Miles were a little bit disappointing, and I didn't like the fact that Venom Goblin was such a step up for the pre-constructed decks, and the management thing really kind of dinged at least half a point. I was thinking about it in the range of 7.5 to 8, and then after sitting down in that last mission, I was kind of like, you know what, this is more of a 7 for me. It's a solid expansion. I think everyone's going to like to get this. I think it's going to be really fun to play in one-off mission mode, but I wasn't a big fan of the campaign and all the campaign elements either. It didn't really get me as motivated as, say, not Galaxy's Most Wanted, because that was our least favorite one, Mad Titan Shadow and the original Red Skull Rising.
Yeah, now I almost wish I'd gone first, because it sounds like I'm copying you, but I give it a 7 as well. For a lot of the same reasons as Jason. It was originally a 7.5 for me, and this last game kind of dinged it down. I think this is one of the only times, except now you're reminding me with Galaxy's Most Wanted, I think I said the similar thing, but at one point in one of the games, I'm just not having fun. It just wasn't, cards weren't coming out the way I wanted them to, and that's pretty rare with Marvel Champions. I mean, if you follow the channel, we've been covering this pretty
regularly.
I was going to say religiously, but I'm never one to complain about Marvel Champions hitting the table, and I can't say that I complained about this, but one of the games at least, I was like, yeah, okay, let's just get this over with. I just wasn't having fun.
So I think this is a good example, though, just to sort of round out our review. If you haven't seen us talking about Galaxy's Most Wanted, we had the game, we didn't have any fun, and we were both like, these pre-constructed decks are terrible, they're not working. And we went and we looked at some cards, we rebuilt the decks. There was a few specific cards like Rocket's Relentless Assault that just made him so much better. Now, these decks aren't on that level, but I do think that they could use an upgrade and it'd be a lot more fun.
Agreed. So, on that note,
Gonna remind everyone to like, comment, subscribe.
Hey, you hit that's my sentence.
Hey, you said on that note, which is my sentence. So
oh, okay. Hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you. And then down below, you can find in the video description. Go ahead.
You can find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see pictures of Julie and I playing Marvel Champions, there's plenty of pictures. Lots of pictures of us playing the Sinister Motives campaign, so make sure to check them out. Also down there, if you're looking for a copy of the game, is a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. Click that link, you'll get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support the channels. A portion of that purchase will be returned to us, and then popping up in front of us will be links to some of our previously released videos. In front of me will be our most recent release. In front of Julie, we'll take you back to a review of
Galaxy's Most Wanted.
Oh, yeah, since that was the most similar one, our Galaxy's Most Wanted review. I was thinking Mad Titan Shadow, but we'll do Galaxies. Now we're going to
Grab a drink.
and grab our best friend and fellow Red Warrior. I kind of choked on that there.
We're gonna keep playing games.
Keep playing games.
Most
Lots
like
more.
more Marvel Champions. Yeah.
Oh, there's 3 more character packs we need to play.
Apparently, yes.